And I'm going to just
yes,
I'm going to put up what the plan what we're cooking today, and then we will get started. And throughout the session, Chef Kev, I'll be keeping an eye on the chat. Any questions that come out, I might be asking some tips for ourselves and myself as a non-chef kind of person. So here we go. Let me get it on the big screen. So Kev, one of our dishes are, and maybe at the end you can tell us what the orders will be. We're going to be doing Creole salmon. Let me just move it. There you go. There's the ingredients, family. And on the right, you can see the tools we need. So Chef, do you want to take us through this? How we can prepare in advance?
So the salmon, you should have it cut up already. And you can have the salmon washed. I've washed mine with like lemon, a little bit of vinegar to kind of get the acid to kind of get that rid of. Onion should be sliced already, garlic peeled, and then you can chop that up as well. Chilies, I'll show you that as well. Pack of cherry tomatoes, just have them washed, cayenne pepper, and the seasonings, and that'll be fine. So what we're going to be doing is seasoning it first and then leaving it. We won't cook it straight away. We'll let that seasoning soak in before we cook it. And then that will be for the salmon, and we'll go through the steps after that. Brilliant, thanks, Chef. Now, the second dish on our list is the ackee and spinach parcels. Family, you can see the ingredients there and the utensils we need there. Chef, how would you like us to get ready for this one? Okay, let's have your ackee tin opened and drained already. The peppers, you can have it kind of, get it, in truth, I'll show you how to do the peppers and the garlic. Again, we've got chilies. The tomatoes, you can cut them up with nice small pieces, and then the rest we shall do as we go along. The first thing we'll be doing on that will be the puff pastry. We're going to kind of just cut it and put it in the oven with some turmeric and oil to kind of make it puff up and give the turmeric and oil gives it a nice golden color. So that will be the second thing we'll be doing. Brilliant, thanks, Chef. And then the third on our menu is the Blue Mountain roasted vegetables. There we go. We can see the ingredients on the left, family, and on the right, the tools, utensils we need for that one. Chef, is there any preparation we can do in advance? Have the butternut squash peeled if you can, please. The new potatoes just washed. The plantain, what we're going to do, put it in the oven to bake for about half an hour. So if your oven's warmed up, get it in the oven from now. So then it's just cooking through, and then we'll mix it with the rest of the roasted veg. But it's pre-baked a little bit first. It makes it cook better, and it kind of gives us a different finish. Brilliant.
Lady Adele and Brother Kevin, Sister Red Vanessa says, should the onions be sliced or diced?
Sliced, please.
Is that for all of them, Chef?
Yeah, both sliced would be fine. Sliced for all the dishes would be fine. Brilliant, thank you. And family, in between all the cooking, in short little sections, I'm going to be looking at the story of turmeric, because Chef Kev said that the secret ingredients for the show tonight is turmeric, and I've been looking at the history and the journey of turmeric, so in short little snippets while you're away seasoning or away frying or away waiting for something to reach a certain point in the stage. I'll be able to talk us through the story of and the journey of turmeric. So, but before we do that, and Chef Kev, you're going to have to let me know when I can have those 10-minute moments, because you know when the gaps are. No
so
problem,
can I ask, Chef, what's the order? What's the order we're going to be cooking in?
Right, so what we're going to do, we're going to season the salmon first. Once we've seasoned the salmon, then we're going to do the puff pastry make sure we just cut it into a little rectangle, and then brush it with oil and turmeric, get it in the oven, and then we'll prepare the roasted veg, because that will take a little while, and then we'll kind of go back to the salmon, and then we'll finish off with the ackee, because the ackee one is quite quick. Okay, right. Now, everybody, we're on a bit of a countdown. Do we need a minute or so? Because Chef Kev, it's time to go. So if we just give family time to get the aprons on, get the hands washed, get everything diced and sliced, get the oven on, then we'll be ready to go. And I'm looking forward to it.
Lady Adele, we've got, as everyone's getting themselves ready, we've just got a few questions. Maybe it's a yes or no answers. Sister Louise Mohammed says, cook plantain in skin or stroke oven?
In its skin, just literally in the oven, in its skin as it is.
Sonia Brown says, will the ackee parcels go in the oven too?
Only the puff pastry is the only part we're going to do in the oven. The rest of it will be on the stove.
Corrine says, did brother say to put plantain in the oven? Oh yeah, you've answered that one. Oh, should they put the plantain in the oven in their skin now, or should they wait?
They can do it, as long as the oven, make sure it's better if the oven's warmed up a little bit first. So give it, as long as the oven's had at least 5 minutes warmed up, get it into the oven.
Yvonne Williams says, how do you prepare the plantain, please?
Just in the skin, in the oven, as it is. That's all we're going to do for now.
And Red Vanessa says, plantain, you cut, oh no, I think, I'll read out what she says. Plantain, you cut the ends and slice through, right? Question mark. Not just put in the oven without slicing.
I don't know, don't slice it. Just leave it as it is in its skin, because we're gonna roast it once it's in the oven. We're gonna take it out of the oven, and then we're gonna cut it up and then mix it with the rest of the veg, and it will go back in the oven again, but part cooked already.
I must say, Kevin, you're looking absolutely handsome, brother.
Easy.
I don't like giving you too many big ups, okay? I'm just letting you know that, brother, you're looking really sharp, shiny, and you're
ready to go. Okay. All right, we ready to go? Can I get some yes? We're good to go.
We're
all right.
ready
So,
to go, brother Chef.
all right. So
We're ready to go.
Garlic powder. I've got some cayenne pepper. I've got a little salt and pepper mix, and then I'm going to use a little bit of olive oil. So
can we see Kev Chef? Because all we can't see you.
Adele, if we can come off screen.
Yeah.
Yep, so we can then see Kevin larger. Thanks, sister. Yeah, Kevin, carry on.
Okay, so garlic powder, a good sprinkle all round. And garlic powder, even though you're using fresh garlic powder still works with the flavor. It just lifts the flavor and it gives you a little extra oomph. A little bit of cayenne pepper. And again, this is to taste. You don't want to, you can kind of put a good amount if you want a little kick. And then I've got a salt and pepper mix. I'm using a sea salt mixture. Nice little sprinkle. And then smoked paprika. Smoked paprika gives it a nice smoky flavor, but it also gives it a nice color as well. The salmon, you want that nice little reddish color, and the smoked paprika gives that, but it gives it a nice smoky flavor. And smoked paprika is just dried red pepper. The smoked version just adds a little bit more of a smoky flavor and adds to your dish. I'm going to use a little olive oil, and then this is where, I forgot my gloves, where you're going to mix it so it's a nice mixture. So you're kind of making sure your hands get kind of messy, and then the salmon is just taking on the flavor. And then once you've kind of mixed it, just make sure you smell it so you can smell some flavors coming from the food. If you don't smell no flavors, you just put a little bit extra oomph, put a little bit extra this and that, i.e. a little bit extra smoked paprika. It might need a little bit more cayenne, or might even need a little more garlic, but you should smell a nice little smoky flavor from the salmon. So my salmon, that smells bad. So now, this is where you want the salmon, that's the kind of have that little kind of, I'm smelling the salmon, I'm saying, yeah. Before I've even cooked this salmon, I know I've got flavor infused into this salmon. Now, once you've done...
Someone asked, could you please repeat what the mix is that you've got there?
Okay, so the mix is garlic powder, cayenne pepper, a mixture of salt and cracked black pepper, and a little bit of smoked paprika. And then I put a little bit of olive oil just to kind of combine, and then just make sure it's got a nice little aroma. So garlic powder, cayenne pepper, salt and black pepper, and then a little bit of smoked paprika, a good amount, and then olive oil to kind of combine it, and it makes it spread more easy. And I've washed the salmon first in lime juice or lemon juice with a little bit of vinegar. The lemon and the vinegar, you want the acidity to kind of kill off any bacteria. That's why in Caribbean cooking, you'll see us using lemon and thing before we cook our food. And the reason behind that is the acidity will kill off the bacteria, but it also helps tenderize, makes your food nice and soft. All right, salmon's done. I'm gonna leave that to one side, cover it, leave it in the fridge, and then you're good to go. So the salmon, well, what reason why we've done it now is the salmon will take on that flavor. So when we're ready to cook, the salmon's got some flavor going through, as opposed to just cooking it straight away. when we're doing meats, and if you're doing meats and you haven't got much time to season, what I normally do is put holes in the meat, so then you haven't got just the flavor on the outside, you've got the flavor all the way through, and it cooks more evenly. So there's little tips you can use to kind of help your cooking experience a lot better. So are we good to go? Everyone got their salmon done? Give your hands a little wash off, and then we're going to go on to the next step.
Yes, it's all looking good. Can the screen be enlarged? It's quite large on my screen, sis. I think it's probably Mr. Prue maybe on your side, but he's on full screen already.
Okay.
As they're getting ready, oh, Raf said it's small. On my one, it's very large. It's gonna be on your.
Fine by mine.
Yeah, it's gonna be your setting. I'd just like to say thank you. We got brother Richard Mohammed, who's online, who's the very first Chelsea supporter to actually come on the Hidden Truth platform. So thank you very much, Richard. Thank you very much.
Brother Richard is a beautiful brother of mine. I've known him for years. The only downside, as Andrew said, he supports a team which is so dead. But that's another matter altogether. Right, I've got my puff pastry. I'm going to cut a little slice, and I'll show you what I'm going to do next. So the puff pastry, to make the parcel, all you're going to do, have a puff pastry. I've got it into a little strip, and then I'm going to cut it in half. That is it. Put it on a tray, and then I'm going to use a mixture of turmeric and olive oil.
So, Chef Kev, if I bought a block of puff pastry, how thin do I need to roll it, and what roughly is the size of those squares? So
you want it to be around the thickness of a 10p piece, and the square is it's not a big square, it's just a nice, it's like, if you can see the screen, that kind of size. Okay. So you want it rolled, thickness of about 10p piece, and you just want a nice little square rectangle. And what I'm going to do, I'm mixing some olive oil with turmeric. Now, when you know when you get the Caribbean patties, and then you've got that nice gold and yellow color, this is what the finishing is. And it just gives a nice touch. But turmeric, which Adele's going to go into, is one of those secret ingredients. The downside, turmeric, if it gets on your clothes, if it gets and if it gets on the surfaces, it is mad. It is mad. It's one of those ones where you don't want it to stain on your food. So the turmeric, it works, but it's one of those ones you don't want to. So I've got my square, and then all I've got is olive oil mixed with turmeric, and then mix it to it's like a little runny paste, and then you just want to brush it over your puff pastry. Now with puff pastry, you want the oven to be really nice and hot. The hotter, the better. Because what happens is with the puff pastry, you want it to puff up.
Chef Kev, there's a few of us who maybe not cooks as sharp as you. Can you just slow the pace down a bit for us, sir?
Oh, sorry, I get a bit carried away. You know when you're excited, that's what happens with me. I kind of get a bit carried away.
Thank you.
I'm going to slow down.
Yes.
So all I'm doing right now is just brushing my puff pastry with the turmeric and oil. So I'm just doing that still. So I'm doing a little painting. And in truth, with food, you do become like an artist. So even though I'm saying I'm painting it, it's one of those ones where you want the food to kind of create a picture. And the reason why I've used certain color combinations, because when it goes on the plate, your food will have that kind of colors contrast on the cooking. So I'm not going to put it in the oven yet. I'm waiting for everyone to catch up, and I'll kind of do a little fireside chat. So I'm Chef Kevin. Welcome to the first Come Dine with me. I've been cooking for about 35 years now. And yes, I know I look about 35, so some of you are a bit surprised. Andrew, stop laughing, brother, stop laughing. Now, this is where there's a problem with me and Andrew, because Andrew kind of is my big brother, and I mean, he's up in age with but I'm sorry, I'll be there. And it's one of those scenarios where when it comes to cooking, it's a passion, because cooking is hard work. And cooking for black people is even harder work.
So, yes, just as you're preparing there, can I just ask, what somebody's asked, the tray that you've put the squares of puff pastry, which you've painted with the turmeric and oil, is it on a grease tray? Is it on grease-proof paper?
No, because I'm using a non-stick tray. But if you haven't got a non-stick tray, you can put it on grease-proof paper, or you just brush a little bit of oil on the tray before it goes in the oven.
Thank you very much, sir.
And brother Ian says, he's never moved so fast in his kitchen ever before.
Well done.
I'm going to slow down. Sorry, I get a bit carried away sometimes, so I'm going to slow it right down. This is going to be like a mellow kind of time now. So,
how many sides?
So what I've done,
we're only coating one side of the square, isn't it?
Only one side.
Okay.
Only one side.
Thank you.
No problem. As everyone, can you check in the group as people can caught up now?
It looks like it's. It looks like everybody's no more questions coming through. So I've asked all the questions that are there so far.
So we good? All right. So I'm going to get my puff pastry in the oven now. And so, remember what I said?
Which shelf, Kevin?
Top shelf, nice and high up. Top shelf.
Temperature and for how long?
Temperature 200 degrees. We'll check it after 10 minutes. Gas mark 7, please.
Thank you.
So we'll check it after 10 minutes, and then we'll make sure it's cooking. All we want it to do is puff up, have that nice golden crust on the outside, and we're good to go. All right. So next. So we good? Everyone's kind of just nice and easy. Yeah.
We're there, sir. We're there. We're with you.
All right. So I've got my butternut squash now. I've peeled mine already. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to prep the veg. So butternut squash. It's again, like pumpkin, it's a bit more a cheaper alternative to pumpkin. Pumpkin is quite expensive, but this roasts good. This goes good for soups. And again, what we're going to do is reason why we're doing this with the roasted veg and potatoes. A lot of the Caribbean diet is full of starch. So we'll have rice and peas. We'll have mac cheese. Yeah. We'll have potato salad. Yeah. And it's like pure carbs. And then we wonder why we can't get up. We can't do none of this. It's like you've got pure carbs on your food, on your plate, and a lot of them are heavy carbs. And so which I'm trying to do is show this. So let's say you're having the salmon, you've got the salmon, and then you've got okra, tomatoes, and red onions and seasoning. Those items will kind of make up like a side, like a veg. So you've got like a veg, you've got the salmon, and then the roasted veg is your side dish, as opposed to having too much rice. We do rice all the time. We do potatoes all the time.
So, brother, Chef, if we've got our plantain in the oven, how long should we be keeping that in for?
I'll check it after about half an hour. It's a good amount of time.
How would we know if it's ready to come out?
We're just going to give it half an hour, and then we're going to make sure it's nice. It should feel about soft, even if it's a little firm, but half an hour should give it, let it cook enough, whereby once we're roasting it, it will cook more evenly, and we'll get that nice mixture, nice texture, but it will stay nice and firm as well.
Fantastic. And so some of us are using squash, we can use the pumpkin as well?
Yeah, you can use pumpkin. Pumpkin's a bit more softer, but butternut squash holds better for roasting.
Okay, fantastic. And you mentioned okra, and I know you're going to come to okra later because it's not one of my childhood favorites, and you can guess why. And when I was going on to One Stop Shop to order my veg, one of the first things that came up was okra, and it scared me to death because I remember those childhood memories. So I hear you're going to tell us how we can make it. I'm not going to ask you to do it now in a way that is going to make it palatable for people like me who cannot take slime.
Hey!
Get to that.
All right, so okra is one of those dishes people do not like. It's like because of the sliminess, and there's a way you can do it where it doesn't. It's like, and in truth, I got this from one of my right-hand boys, Dean. He's on. I know he's on the panel today or online. And okra, dry frying it with just salt, no oil or nothing, helps take out moisture and helps it stop being sticky. So I'll show you a little while later, but big up to my man, Dean. I know you're online, and that's one of the things, but I'll go into it more about the okra. Now, the vegetables, you're gonna cut them into quite big sized pieces. Now, that kind of size piece, normally you'd say, that look too big. Because we're roasting it, it will shrink. And by the time it shrinks, it doesn't look that size at all no more. So you cut it quite big to accommodate that it's gonna shrink. So are you with me? Are you cutting? Are we cutting with me? Talk to me.
With you. Chef Monica loves slime in the okra, so you're going to have to find a slime way of doing it as well. But is there another ingredients for those of us who forgot or couldn't get hold of okra that we can use today that we might have in our kitchen?
Oh, you could do it like a scaveche then, where you do some onions cut really nice and thin with some peppers thin, and you could do it like that. So do it like a little relish that way. Okay.
Brilliant. Thank you, Chef.
No problem. So I'm cutting my butternut squash into good sized chunks, allowing for the fact it's going to shrink when it goes into the oven. So that's my squash. I've got my plantain in the oven already. I've got some red pepper, and then with the pepper, all I'm going to do, cut around the outside. Cut around the outside. And with the red pepper, you see the little white pieces, you don't want that part, because that can be quite bitter, and plus it doesn't add to the presentation. So the first thing you do is eat with your eyes. So the pepper, you don't want that white part, just trim those white parts off. I'm going to do it very slowly so you can all catch up with me. Are we good so far? Everyone with me? Everyone there?
With you, Chef Bernice, Sister Bernice says she loves okra without cooking it. Sister Bernice, are you saying you eat it raw? Is it something you can eat raw?
You can eat it raw. People
Wow.
do that. Me personally, that's not for me. Me not into that. So I have to be honest.
Run around, Sister Bernice, run around.
The raw food diet, maybe later. I've not got to reach that stage yet. Right, so I've got my butternut squash chopped up here, and then I'm going to do my red pepper next. I'll give you time. I'm going to give you time to kind of get trimmed up. So I'm not going to rush. I'm taking my time. In fact, I've got some more butternut squash. Don't worry. I'm one of the man who does not like wasting anything. So even if I've got a little piece of the squash, I'll do that another time and use that for a soup or something.
Brother Dean
And
put okra in his drink.
I know online, I've got my sister Corrine, one of the baddest cooks I know. She used to do these cookies. Oh my God, chocolate and orange, the thing's bad. Her and her sister Lorna, love them to bits. I know they're online today. I know we've got my boy Dean, my right-hand man. I'm not sure all the other people. I know we said about Richard, even though he doesn't deserve it. Richard been giving me some bad texts. That's breaking my heart this week, man. But
Kevin,
today,
Kevin, I love the teamwork of is it Brother Augustine? Ayabodi?
Yeah.
They're doing a 1-2. They're doing a 1-2, but I'm watching.
Wow.
They're bad. Bad team.
I can't even see. Let me look at the screen. Okay. All right, I can't even see them.
People
But
doing things with okra, brother Kev. Somebody okra water is great too.
yep. There's so many
Wow.
okra. People do it as like when they go for those green juices and things like that.
Yeah.
A lot of people do use okra as one of those things they'll do. So
One of us has forgotten to get our red peppers. Is there a substitute for pepper for tonight that we may have in our kitchen, Chef?
yeah, if you've got some onion, whatever vegetables you've got, you can go something like a cauliflower, but you just have to make sure it's covered in a good amount of oil.
Okay.
So when it goes, it's not going to burn on the outside. So you can, if you haven't got pepper, you can just use extra other the veg you've got. But you're looking at the color contrast, so it kind of looks good on your plate. Now, when it comes to food, there's a term we use. We use the term organoleptic, and it's where you use the senses for your cooking. So the cooking experience is supposed to be using all the senses. So the first thing is your sight. The next is where you've got the smell, so the aroma. The next is whereby when you bite into the food, it's got different textures. Everything should be soft. You should have some crunchiness. So you've got different textures when it comes to your cooking experience, your eating experience. And then you've got the touch. So that's whereby sometimes you'll have a crispy shell on the outside of the fish, and sometimes it'll be soft, but you want a color combination and you want the smell, touch, and then the smell and the sight. So you've got all the senses when you cook, and then the smell, you use fresh herbs. That way you can get the food to kind of make all your senses come alert, and that helps your cooking
Chef, what are you
experience.
cutting now?
Oh, sorry. I'm cutting the new potatoes. I'm just cutting them to quarters, and I'm using new potato as opposed to normal potatoes, keeping the skin on because it gives a little bit more fiber. And again, we need to make sure we can kind of get our body working the way it should do. So you keep the skin on, it helps your food and helps the body get rid of and digest a lot better.
Thank you.
So,
somebody else is also thinking that their pastry is ready, Chef. Can we take it out? Do we just turn the oven off? Do we leave it there?
No, you turn the oven. It looks bad. All right. Okay, let's have a look. So my puff pastry, look at that. So it's nice and golden.
Okay, so we take it out of the oven now, chef, and put it to one side, or we just leave it in the oven?
Leave it to one side. Just leave it to one side.
Okay.
And that is it. That is the puff pastry ready to rumble. When I'll show you what we're going to do a bit later. Okay. Right. So I've got my butternut squash. I've got my red pepper. I've got my new potatoes. My plant is in the oven. And we are looking good to go. So what I'm going to do now, next I'm going to do, all right, I want everyone to just catch up. Salmon seasoned, roast veg is ready, kind of prepared. We've got our plantain in the oven still, which should give it about half an hour. So next what we're going to do is I'm going to start ready to do the okra. But before I do the okra, Adele, you've got 10 minutes, fire away. You do your section for now, the first #1 section. Is that all right?
Thanks a lot, Chef. Brother Andrew, can I share the screen now?
Your co-hostess, share anytime.
Oh, lovely, thank you. So, brothers and sisters, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to look at the first part of the journey of turmeric. Hopefully you can see that. So just a few things about turmeric. It's a herbaceous plant. So you can see images of it there. It's a herbaceous plant, and that means it doesn't have a woody stem. It's a firm stem, but it's not a woody stem. It's also a perennial, and that means it has a life cycle of more than 2 years. So it keeps coming back year on year, and it has rhizomes. And rhizomes means that the main stem of the plant grows horizontally underground. It has the tubers, and it's those tubers that is the turmeric as we know it. And those tumors, those rhizomes, they act as a storage for the growth of the shoot that will come out of it. And that contains a lot of starch. And it grows, the plant grows to about roughly 1 meter high. Oops, what's happened there? Sorry, everybody, it didn't let me move on. So the word turmeric comes from the Latin terra merita, which means meritorious earth. And the word meritorious means deserving of praise for the earth or sacred soil. So that's the Latin origin for the word. But many countries take it from the Arabic original word, which is curcuma. So a lot of the Asian and Southeast Asian part of the world refer to it as curcuma. And in the Sanskrit, which is ancient Indian language, which was first appeared in about 2000 BC, turmeric has at least 50 names. And here are some, just a couple of the names for turmeric. So Abhadra, which means auspicious, which means success or favorable. Haridra, which means dear to Hari, Lord Krishna. Jayanti, one that wins over diseases. Just imagine going to the market and say, can I have a pound of one that wins over diseases? Another name is Jorantika, which means killer of worms. Lakshmi, which means prosperity. Mahagani, which means killer of fat. Parvitra, which means holy. Umavara or Parvati, which means wife of Lord Shiva. And Vishagani, which means killer of poison. So it has some very, very powerful names in the Sanskrits, and some of that will become clear in some of the other sections. So Southeast Asia, particularly India, is claimed to be the original home of turmeric, and it's been used in a variety of ways since about 4,000 years ago, and it was used as a culinary spice. And we know this because it was found in the residue of buried pots from as far back as 2500 BC. And from there, from the heart of India, it spread around the world to Southeast Asia and the Pacific Islands around 500 AD. Then it moved over to China in around 700 AD. Then it found its way to East Africa about 800 AD. Then over to West Africa in about 1200 AD. Then it made its way to Jamaica by the 1700s. It also reached Europe by the 1700s, but it's not the same journey. It's now cultivated in Brazil, Peru, and Australia. So it's reached far and wide. The Sanskrit text, and you can see it's on the bottom of the right, and the Sanskrit texts of the 5th and 6th century refer to turmeric, and it's called the God's language, which is Sanskrit is called the God's language. Marco Polo wrote about it in 1280 when he was journeying to China, and it's mentioned in European cookbooks of the 1700s. So Chef Kev, that's my first section on turmeric. And when we come back in the next section, we're going to look at how turmeric spread and its use in ancient and modern religion, and how it's used in traditional and folklore healing and its properties, and then we're going to look at how we can make our own turmeric oil. Kev, I'm going to stop share now and back to you.
Okay, I'm back. Right, I've got my plantain out of the oven, and what I've done, I've got the potatoes, the squash, and the peppers in here. And then what I'm going to do, the plantain, I've peeled it, and you see it's got a nice color, looks nice and rich. And what I'm going to do, cut it down the middle again. And I'm just going to cut it into little chunks. So cut the plantain. So I'm doing this, I know you've got to peel your ones. So I'm just showing you once you've peeled it, this is what you're going to do. Cut it into little chunks.
Is that the plantain there?
This is the plantain I've taken out the oven, peeled it, and I'm just cutting into little chunks. I'm not going to put it in straight away.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do, I've got sea salt and cracked black pepper. The reason I'm using cracked black pepper, when you've got the roasted veg, you want to have that little crunchiness. When you bite into the veg, the cracked black pepper, when you bite into it, it gives it that little crunch on the vegetable. So nice sprinkle. Again, I'm going to use some garlic powder.
So Chef Kev, at any point will you be using real garlic?
Oh, of course I will be. Real garlic goes with ackee, and real garlic will go with salmon as well.
It's just a trick. I guess maybe we all know it, but for those of us who don't know, the trick to peeling garlic, because it can be tricky to peel from if you don't know the tip for that.
Let me see if I've got some.
I can do it when you come to it, Chef. That's fine. I was just remembering.
No problem, I can show that. So I've got some fresh thyme, and I'm going to just leave it on the stem, and all I'm going to do is just put it with my veg. And again, you know, thyme is that it just really gives it a nice fragrance, and then a nice drizzle of olive oil.
Chef, is there any other oils we could use if we didn't want to use or we didn't like olive oil?
Oh my day. So when I'm cooking, I will use olive oil, the straight olive oil. And a lot of people like to go, oh, I want to use the virgin olive oil. No, when it comes to cooking, the best oil is straight olive oil. The virgin olive oil, the extra virgin olive oils, they're good for salads, they're good for dressings. They're not really good for high temperatures. If you are going for high temperature, this is where they use the normal olive oil, or avocado oil is our new one, which a lot of people using. It's a bit more expensive, but it's really good for the body, and it's got some big flavor. Really, really nice flavor. So avocado oil, straight olive oil. Yeah.
Jeff, can you remind us what's in the bowl and how did you cut the plantain, please?
Right. So
the bowl and how did you cut the plantain? Just remind us there.
In my bowl, I've got butternut squash, I've got red peppers, I've got new potatoes, and I've got some fresh thyme. I've got the plantain baked in the skin, and I've just cut it into little chunks. Okay. And what I'm going to do, I've not put the plantain in yet because I didn't want it to kind of go all mushy. And I'm just combining it with salt, pepper, and garlic powder, and then the fresh thyme. And that will do me for now, because I don't want to really add too much any other things right now. I am going to put a little bit of turmeric as well to kind of give it that nice golden. Turmeric's got to go as well. So I'm going to go with a little bit. Where's my turmeric? Oh, where is it? I'm going to go with a little turmeric.
We're looking at how we make our own turmeric powder as well as a part of one of the sections.
Yeah.
So that would be exciting.
So one of the things I tend to do for now, we're using the ready produced turmeric, but you can, if you've got time, you can do the original way where you peel it and do everything with it. But right now, you're looking at what's practical. Yeah. And one of the key things with food, the cooking itself doesn't take long. The thing that takes the time is the actual preparation, the peeling, the chopping. That's what takes the time. So I've got this roasted veg, and I've got the nice little seasoning. I'm going to get my plantain in there now.
Loads of people are using different oils. We've got some using sesame seed oil. We've got some using avocado oil, basil oil. So there's a load of different oils adding different flavors.
That's what I like to hear. What I would say, that the sesame oil, it gives a nice flavor. Sometimes it can be a bit overpowering. So I usually do that with a combination. What I'm going to do, my tray, which I'm going to roast my vegetables in, I'm going to put it in the oven first for about a couple of minutes. So it's the tray's hot. So once my roast vegetable goes in there, it starts cooking straight away, and it will cook nice and evenly. So make sure you've got enough seasoning, salt and pepper. And because it's kind of quite big, but I've done a lot more than what I've told you. So you can see my bowl of vegetables. This can last a good couple of days, or this would do a good few people.
So Chef, can I ask a question? In one of the recipes, you suggested that we use Himalayan salt. Do you want to just tell us the difference between regular rock salt and the Himalayan salt?
The Himalayan pink salt is a lot, it's less sodium. That's the main thing what people are using the salts for. And then you've got the sea salt. Again, they're low sodium, but they're big on flavors. And you're always looking at the salts, which are not going to increase your blood pressure and which are going to add flavor to your food. So I tend to use the Himalayan or the rock salt or the sea salt. Those salts seem to work better, and they help more the flavor of your food. And you don't have to use a lot of it either. So that helps with the combination. So
fantastic. Somebody's also talking about rapeseed oil. Now I know rapeseed oil has become a very, very common oil lately. You find it everywhere. It's kind of taken over from the old-fashioned vegetable oil. So that's another oil. Can you tell us anything about rapeseed oil and how it's come to take over?
So rapeseed oil is a new one. It's supposed to have a lot of health benefits. I don't use it as much. I'm not too sure on those. There's some of the oils where they've got GM food ingredients in it, and that's where I'm very cautious. So I tend to stick to the ones I know, because with the food industry, a lot of the products which they push, they will have GM, genetically modified ingredients. It'll be soya products, and then what happens is you're thinking you're having something which is good for you, but then it's not. I.e., think about like butter and margarine, and so a lot of people say, I'm going to get this low-fat margarine. And this low-fat margarine is 10 times worse, full of all chemicals. And I think at one point, a lot of the margarines were one molecule away from paint stripper. And you know what paint stripper smells like, and you know what it does. So I tend to use the traditional products I know of and I can trust. The avocado oil, the olive oil I'll use. The rapeseed oil is still good, but until I know exactly all the background, I'm very cautious with anything like that.
Chef. Sharon 6X has said that rapeseed oil is GM oil, and that's one of the reasons why it's so popular and it's so cheap. So rapeseed oil is a GM oil.
I didn't know Sharon was on the platform. That's my right-hand sister. Sister Sharon is the key to my. I run a catering business, and Sister Sharon is our admin, and she leads a team of waitresses, and she makes sure the person who kind of is left the face of my company. And so that is my right hand. I didn't know she was online today. Big up, Sharon. Love you to bits, sis.
Chef, this could be a tricky one. This could be a tricky one, Chef. Somebody's asked, Sister Bernice has asked, can you say anything about Celtic sea salt?
I don't know on that one. I've not looked into it. So I wouldn't talk on something unless I've looked into it. So
that's something we can all go away and have a look into. So Celtic sea salt, that's something for us to go away and find out.
By the next time, I will definitely check into it. Now, my roasted veg, I'm going to go into my container. And because the pan's been in the oven, it's nice and hot. And I've got all the fresh thyme leaves. This looks good. And I'm going to be turning this. It's going to shrink, so I'm going to pack it quite high. And
so that's our potatoes, that's our peppers, that's our plantain, and that's our squash or pumpkin, if that's what we've used. And
we've got fresh thyme. We seasoned it with salt, pepper, garlic powder, and then a little bit of turmeric to give it a nice little color and the flavor, and to kind of add a little color to it. And that is it. And the olive oil. Okay, so this is ready to rumble.
Right, and the plantain is in there as well. It's going into the oven for the second time.
There you go. So yes, so that's we're ready to go. So our roasted veg is in the oven now. Our fish is ready to.
Which shelf, please, chef, and what number, and roughly for how long?
Top shelf, we'll go a little bit lower, go about 180, or gas mark, go 5, and then we'll turn it in about 10-15 minutes. We'll give a little turn on the vegetables. So in terms of, so it cooks more evenly. So we'll turn it, get a little fish slice, so you go underneath it and then turn it so it cooks nice and even and it gets a nice color all the way around. So we'll
why
turn
haven't you covered it, chef? Why not?
Say
cover
it?
Why not cover it? You put it in there uncovered.
With roasted veg, you want it to have that little kind of charred look. So you don't want to cover it whereby it goes all mush, and you don't want to steam it. You want to roast it where it's got a nice little crispy shell, and then it's inside.
Lovely, thank you.
I
can smell already.
Can I just add, Brother Kevin, brothers and sisters, very quickly. I know some of you are saying that, you got to clean up afterwards and what have you, okay? What we didn't tell you, and it's a surprise for you, we've got a free cleaning service that will clean all of the mess in your house tonight. Oh. I'll give you the telephone number. You call that number, sit down, wait, and you'll see whether it's going to be cleaned or not. So that's for those of you who are just worrying about the cleaning side.
I'm scared already.
Andrew, don't be giving people my number, brother. I know Andrew, Next minute, I've got everyone ringing up my phone every minute. Right, so I've got my okra. I'm going to do what is known as top and tail. So cut off the top and cut off the tail. Just do that for now.
How many have you got there, chef?
I'm one of them man who like to cook big. So I said a handful. So I've got a big hand. so my handful is a bit I've got about 4, 8. I've got 11 okras. Okay. I won't need them, but it's like a side relish. And all I'm going to do, cut it on the slant into if they're big ones, I cut them into 3. If it's small ones, I cut them into 2s. So top and tail, and then cut them into 2s or 3s. And then while you're doing that, because it's not going to take long, you should have washed it already. What I'm gonna do, get my pan nice and hot.
You're going to put the oil in there, or you're going to just heat the pan?
No oil, no oil, no oil.
Okay.
Just my pan on the stove, no oil. And I want my pan to be nice and hot before I do anything.
So when you say you're cutting it on the slant, chef, just so that we kind of get the right sizing for the temperature you're going to cook it at, are you cutting it roughly into 3, roughly into 4? Just trying to, we can't see the size very well, so we want to just get a sense of size.
Sorry, so I'm cutting it into 3s, or if they're big, I'll cut them into 3s. If they're smaller, I'll just cut them into 2s.
Okay.
So top and tail. And I've got my frying pan on the stove warming up meanwhile I'm doing that. And the frying pan has no oil in it, dry. And what I've done is I've washed these earlier and dried them so they're not going to be soggy. I don't want no moisture in it, otherwise they will go, They will go mushy.
So chef, you were saying that you never waste anything. Is there anything we can do with the top and tails of those okra?
Stock. If you're doing if you want to make your own stock, you could put it in the stock. And then when you strain it, but it takes on the flavor and it adds to the flavor of the stock you're making. Okay. What you tend to do, making stocks, any trimmings and vegetables that will add to it, and it just kind of adds to the flavor of stock. So that's what you could do with it. Thank you. No problem, sister.
So the frying pan is just on a low enough temperature just to get it hot, isn't it? We don't want it on a high temperature, just low to heat up.
That's a nice medium heat. So I've got my frying pan on nice medium heat, and I've got my okra cut up. And now all I'm going to do is what is known as dry fry the okra. So the okra goes in the pan, and all I add to it is just some salt. Now what the salt does, the salt dries it out in the pan because there's no oil. The salt kind of adds to it, and it kind of takes away the moisture. And so what happens to your okra now? Instead of being sticky, it's nice and dry, and it'll have a nice little crunch to it.
Okay. So you're keeping it on that medium heat. You're not tossing it or anything, chef.
I'm just going to give it a quick stir. all you're doing is on a nice grate, and you're going to do this for about 2-3 minutes, not long. Give me some feedback. What's the feedback in the group? Because I can't see what's going on. Talk to me, Adele.
Up to speed. There was just a few questions about the temperature of the frying pan, and so everything is going smoothly.
That's what I like to hear. We good?
Yeah.
We're good. So I'm just making sure. And what I don't even notice, I've got a plate to one side. So any rubbish, I try and make sure my chopping board is always clear of any mess. So then when you're ready to cut, you kind of got a clear chopping board. One of the things we like to learn is clean up as you go along. And I know a lot of sisters will say, enough of you, man, don't do that. But we do nowadays.
You're setting a good example, Chef. You're setting a good example.
I am indeed. I hope so.
So what is happening in the pan? What is it looking like in the pan, Chef? For those of us who are not doing it today.
So in my pan, I've got the okra, and it's just turning it, and it's going to take a little bit of colour.
Okay.
But it's just drying out, and I want it to be nice and crispy. And all I've got is a little bit of salt, nothing else. I don't want nothing else in there because I want it to kind of just soak up the moisture, and then I'm going to put other seasonings when I mix it with the other ingredients.
So is it producing its own liquid there?
No, because it's dry. We want it to have a little crunch to it. We want it to have a little crunch where when you bite into the okra, it's just nice and it's soft in the middle, but the outside, it's got a little crunch to it. And literally 2 minutes, and the moisture's come out of this now. And then what will happen is, this will now, when you add it with anything with liquid or anything like that, it won't be slimy, and it won't be slimy and sticky because we've taken the moisture out of it already.
Okay.
All right, so we're good?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, so my okra, I'm going to give it another minute, and then that'll be ready. And then I'm going to start finishing off the salmon.
All right. Fantastic.
Okay, so we're doing good on time right now, family. We're doing good.
Yep, very good.
I think we're all keeping up with you now, Chef. Nobody's saying anything in the chat. So we're great. Somebody's asked, Red Vanessa, yes, we have used the red peppers, red onions already. They are in the oven. Am I right? No. With the squash, with the potato, with the red
pepper.
Onions, no, we haven't used them. It's the red peppers we've used.
Red onions is going to be with the fish. It's going to be with the fish and the cherry tomatoes. And what I tend to do is not to use too many ingredients in the same dish, because we've got red onions with the fish. I wouldn't put it with the roasted veg. But when you're doing roasted veg, you can use onions as well to kind of add to the flavour.
Yeah. So no, it's red peppers in the oven, and it's the red onions waiting to.
Yeah. Right. So now, what I'm going to do.
I want to hear you crunch one of those to see if I really believe you. I want to hear the crunch.
You want to hear me? The crunch.
I want to hear the okra crunch.
I'm not really the best person to eat alive enough.
Did it crunch?
Yeah,
Can the cameraman hear it?
Yeah, he heard it. We want more now. Sorry, no. Okay. Right, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to get some oil in my pan. The same pan. I'm putting some oil. Now, get your fish out of the fridge or get your fish from where it is.
Thanks,
it's time for the salad.
Sharon 6X Kevin has put in the chat all about Celtic sea salt. Thanks a lot for that, Sharon 6X. So if anybody can get the opportunity, shall I read it? It has beneficial properties. It helps balance blood sugars, can help to heal skin damage, promote healthy cell growth, and relieve joint pain. Celtic sea salt is comparable to Himalayan crystal salt in its composition and health benefits. So everybody's all about Celtic sea salt. Be interesting to know where you can actually buy it.
Yeah, a lot of the things you can get online, or the health food shops, they will sell it. They will always sell those ones in the health food shops.
So yes, Red Vanessa, the okra is now out of the pan. If you're looking on the screen, you can see the green. Kev's just touching the okra now. That's out of the pan, and he's just put some oil to drizzle at the bottom of the pan for the next step.
And now the salmon, skin side down in the pan, and make sure you hear a sizzle. This is what you call the sizzle test. If you don't hear a sizzle, it's not ready. So make sure you hear a sizzle. Yeah, can you hear that sizzle? You hear that sizzle?
We hear it. Kev, if we didn't hear a sizzle, would you expect us to take it back out and wait?
Yes, wait till it's hot enough.
Right, someone's saying it's hard to get hold of Celtic sea salt, but you can find it on Amazon.
There you go. Skin side down, salmon in the pan. Make sure you hear the sizzle.
Right.
Once it starts sizzling, we're going to give it about 3-4 minutes on either side.
So somebody's asked Chef Kev, how do you know when the okra's ready? They're a little bit behind with us. How do we know when the okra's ready? Because they're still doing that bit.
Really, you give it about 3-4 minutes, and that's enough. Once you give 3-4 minutes on the medium heat with a little stir, and you keep stirring it, that will be enough to do what you need to do.
Okay. Thank you. Right, brilliant.
Right, so now I've got my salmon in the pan, and I'm ready to rumble. So the skin side down, so the skin is going to be nice and crispy. I'm going to give it about...
How long do we wait? How long do we wait for that? How do we
give
know?
it 2-3 minutes. We're going to give it 2-3 minutes. While that's doing there, I'm going to get my onions sliced up.
Your shoe chef has said, you've got a shoe chef out there somewhere, Kev. Brother Dean Mohammed, he's given some little tips on the chat as well. And he's talking about if you want to get the skin side done crispy, to push it down with your lashes, push it down, that will help. To crispy.
So you push it down so it's nice and crispy, so it stays crispy.
Can you just show us how to do that? For those novices, is that how do we do that? Do we just get the spatula? Just press it down?
What you're doing is just pressing it down, making sure it's nice and it's staying down. So it's kind of making sure the skin is getting crispy all the way through. Okay. And you can just have a little sneak peek, lift it up. This is why you've got fish slice.
Sister Red Vanessa is saying, OMG, the salmon smells amazing. Sister Red Vanessa, I can smell all the salmons that are online right now. All 62 of the salmons are smelling beautiful right now. I wish now, Chef, that I was doing it alongside, but I couldn't do 2 things at once. So well done to everybody who's keeping up with the 2 dishes so far. Because remember, Chef, when you were promoting it on The Hidden Truth, you were saying maybe for us novices, just do 1 of the dishes, 2 at most. But I reckon you've got a platform who's going to try all 3.
Oh, we've got the pure big shutters here now. Okay, I like that. I like that.
So Sister Yvonne, who's just catching up with us, just to say that it's a bit of oil in the frying pan, the same pan that you did the okra in. You're putting the salmon in, skin down, pressing it down with the fish slice to help speed up the skin getting crispy. Yes,
100%.
Are you still skin side down there in the pan, Chef?
I am still skin side down.
Okay. And what's the heat like? Is it still a medium heat or?
I've got on my one goes up to 9, and I've got it on a 3.5, 3.5.
So the lower side of medium heat.
Yeah.
Okay. How are you cutting those red onions, Chef?
So red onions I've sliced up already.
How are you slicing? Thin slices, thick slices? And you did your
thin slices for the red onion, and the cherry tomatoes I'm just cutting them in halves.
Okay.
So my salmon, just a few minutes.
A whole onion, Chef? Is that a whole onion you've cut up?
I've done 2 small. My onions were small, so I've done 2 small ones, or 1 medium-sized red onion would be enough. You could do a whole one. A whole one's more than enough. It adds to the flavour and it gives a nice texture.
Fantastic.
No problem.
Quite a few tomatoes there. That looks like a whole punnet.
So my tomato. So imagine you've got the combination of tomatoes, red onion, and okra. And then also chilies. Now I want mine a little bit hot. I'm leaving the seeds in. So I'm going to chop up some chilies.
Some chilies, you said some chilies. How many are you using, Kevin? I know we've all got our own taste or heat level.
I'm a man who likes hot stuff, a bit like myself. So I'm going to go for 3 chilies. I'm going to go 3 chilies.
And how are you cutting them, sir? Is it just the thin slices into tiny, very small? Okay.
And I've kept the seeds in.
Wow.
To kind of get a little bit extra oomph. I want to make sure they've got some fire on them.
So for those of us who don't like heat, take the seeds out, yeah?
Seeds out and only go about one or two. So
Could we have used the Scotch bonnet chili for that, or would that impair the flavour and make the flavour kind of
You
change?
can go for Scotch bonnet and go, but that Scotch bonnet might be a bit too extra. You want it kind of more of a light taste.
Yeah, okay.
I'm going to use a couple of garlic now. So this is where the fresh garlic comes in now. So I've got my peeled garlic. And this is where I'm using the peeled garlic now.
Okay.
And that goes there. And so if you can see my screen, so the peeled garlic, I'm just going to do little slices. Take it again, take any piece. I've got to skin off. Oh, I was going to show you how to skin the garlic.
Yes, really.
Hold on. So, got my garlic, whole garlic. Give it a little crack. Once it cracks, the skin just peels off so easy.
Okay.
As opposed to trying to peel off each one. And so you got the garlic, and the skin just comes off nice and easy. So all you do is just give it a little crack.
Yeah.
And then the skin comes off nice and easy.
Fantastic.
And then what I'm going to do.
Have you turned the salmon yet, Chef? Has the salmon been turned yet?
Now the salmon's going to turn now.
So what should it be like on the side? So if it's not crispy, should we turn it back onto the skin?
You want it to be a nice crispy skin. Should be a little dark. It looks like it's been on a griddle, nice and dark golden.
Okay.
Here's my salmon. See it's nice and dark, got a little colour. And I'm going to turn down the fire now. And that will carry on cooking.
What are you going to turn it down to, Chef?
What you realise, a lot of the time when it comes to black people in food, we cook our food long. And we want everything cooked. But it's like we want to kill it all over again. We're not sure the animal's dead. And the way we cook our food is like we kill off any living nutrition in the food. So we want to cook it so it's cooked, but you don't want it to be dried out and overcooked. Now my garlic, all I'm going to do is slice it.
How many cloves are you using there, Chef? So you've got your one big onion, you've got your about 8 or so small cherry tomatoes, and how many cloves of garlic?
I'm going to do three cloves of garlic.
Okay.
3 cloves of garlic. So I've just done it, sliced it, and then I've just chopped it all over again.
Okay.
But at this stage, my salmon's doing okay. I've got my veg ready, my garlic, my chilies, so I'm ready to rumble. Check your roasted veg, people. Check your roasted veg. Give it a little turnover.
Can you remind us what oven temperature that the roasted vegetables are on, please, Kev?
Oh, 180 or gas mark 5, please.
Thank you.
No problem.
Oh, what does that say on your is that a personalized chef's jacket there, Chef Kev? I saw a little logo in the top left there. What does that say?
So my chef jacket says cooking with Chef Kev, the same as the apron, cooking with Chef Kev.
Okay.
So I'm at a school in Windsor and they like the cooking, so I kind of made sure I kind of got a little catchiness to it. So my salmon now is looking just really nice and cooked. And what happens with things like salmon, it will carry on cooking even when we take it out of the pan. So what I'm going to do, my salmon, especially the smallest, this is a small piece. So that one, I'm going to flip it over and you can see that salmon. Look at that, that's nice and golden. That one can go to one side.
Prudential is saying, Chef, that you're not even sweating. You haven't wiped your brow once.
I'm trying. Right, so now we're going to start. What I'm going to do, I'm going to do the salmon now. So the salmon's ready to rumble. So that's the salmon cooked. Leave it to one side. Next, what I'm going to do, in the same pan, I've got all the juices from the salmon. I want to keep those juices and I want to get into my food. What we're going to do, onions, chili, and garlic go into the pan first. Are we good? Everyone up to, I don't want to rush. Is everyone up to date with me?
We're there. I think you can keep going. There's a few people writing down as you go along. That could be
Okay.
those who are not cooking with us today. I don't know, Brother Andrew, if there's a way that we can get the ingredients out, or maybe Chef Kevin, you'll have the ingredients. You'll have a recipe card for us from tonight's event that can be emailed out later.
What I'll do, I'll have the recipe. I was going to say, I'll make sure you've got a recipe so you can do it in your own time again. So I'll send Andrew, we'll have it on the website. You'll have the recipes.
Fantastic.
Is that all right, Andrew?
Yeah. Also, for those that are on tonight, you will be given a link for the recording of this so that you can watch it back at your own pace and go through this. So for those of you that are on the link on the hookup tonight, you'll be given a private link that you can actually view this over the next 7 days before it's taken down.
Fantastic. Chef, what's in the pan, please? Is that just the onions? What's in there?
Red onion,
Yeah.
chili, and garlic.
Everything you just chopped up, you put in the same juices from the fish.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes, I want flavour. I don't want to get rid of that juices. And I just want to fry that for a good 2-3 minutes.
Okay.
So that's just kind of, it's like caramelizing slightly because it's kind of combined with the oil, and you've got the chili, you've got the garlic, really nice combination.
What do you mean by caramelizing, Kevin? What does that mean?
So where it kind of goes more sticky, so it's going all sugary, and it goes like more like a jam kind of, like a sticky marmalade, shall I say, not even jam. Right, so my cherry tomato is going to go in now.
What temperature are you frying that at, please, Kev?
I'm on about a medium heat now. I start off on a high and then I go down. So nice and medium.
So some people are asking, Chef, when you put the recipe card together, if it can be ingredients and how to do it as well. So we get the ingredients right.
It will be the ingredients and the method.
Fantastic.
No problem.
I'm going to try it out, Kev. I'm going to try it out and I'll let you know.
Thanks, sis. Right, so I've got my tomatoes, my onions, garlic, and chilies in here. And finally, my okra goes in now. So you've got a nice color combination. And this is the equivalent to kind of for each piece of salmon, you've got one of these each.
Okay, so we've got our okra, our onion, our garlic, and our chili on our medium fry.
Yep.
Just stirring continuously.
And then just keep it turning nice. And then what I'm going to do, because I've got salt with the okra already, I'm going to put a little bit of black pepper.
Oh, I've just had a lovely hint. Thank you, Monica. Monica's given me a hint of how to, she really wants me to eat these okra and get rid of my past fears about it. But here's a tip. Here's a tip that will help cut down on the slime when cooking okra so you can enjoy it more. Wash and dry the okra while it's still whole and then slice down for frying. Put them single layer onto a tea towel and leave them to air dry for a few hours or put it outside in the sun. They will soak up all the slime and then continue to fry and cook them as normal. That should help.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah. Where are the tomatoes, Chef? Somebody's asking, where are the tomatoes?
The tomatoes are in the pan.
Right. Yeah, the okra
So everything's in the pan for the okra now. Everything's in my pan.
Okay.
All right, so now, there you go. Okra relish, and that is ready to rumble.
Looking good. Smells good as well, Kevin.
Thank you. Okay, we good? Right, so Adele, you've got a slot now. I'm going to kind of get myself cleaned up. Take over, Adele, if you're okay with that.
Lovely, I will do, Chef. So while that gives us time to catch up those of us who may need to, and to clean ourselves up, ready for the next part. So as Kevin's doing that, I just want to go section 2 now. I was talking in the last section about the spread of turmeric out of India, and the journey of turmeric around the world and out of India was set in motion by these people. These people are called the Austronesian people. And it's the original name given to the dark people of Taiwan, Oceania, and Madagascar. And when we think about Austronesians today, they are people that look like those in the image at the moment. And it was these people, the Austronesians, who are claimed to be the inventors of maritime sailing technology, which allowed them to reach places as far as the Pacific Islands, Australia, and it's even said as far as America. So just imagine that. They were able to build boats, have the technology to sail across the ocean to as far as America. And these people, they use turmeric in their animistic rituals and traditions. And it's the way, and turmeric is how we recognize these people. But history shows that the black man was well established in the region way back those 4,000 years ago, because we have this group of people in the same region called Negritos. It's the name given to the dark-skinned people with small stature that lived in the that kind of Polynesian and Pacific Ocean area, the Austronesian people. And look at this image. Does that not look like us, Negritos? Look at the hair, look at the features. These are images of the people from that region. So we can see the black man in that part of the world had that maritime genius to be able to sail all the way to Australia and out over into America. So in India, even today, they have a ceremony called the Samvati Amavasya. And it's a celebration where turmeric powder is thrown, into the air, thrown over the people, or where the people cover themselves in turmeric paste. And this was considered an offering to the shepherd god Kandoba. So it's a celebration that takes place. Turmeric was used as a dye, and it's still used as a dye today, but it was used originally as a dye for the robes of priests and monks. Many hundreds and some thousands of years ago as well. It was also used back in the ancient times as a spice that was used in the rituals and ceremonies related to well-being and fertility. And today it is still considered a divine plant given to man from the gods. The Hindu Haldi festival, it's a marital ritual where turmeric paste is applied to the bride and the groom. And it is said that the turmeric paste protects the skin, it protects against ailments and wards off evil spirits. And the paste is applied to 5 areas of the body as a part of this marital festival: the feet, the knees, the arms, the hands, and the face. But in more ancient and traditional times, and what would happen, the groom would hang a dyed string, a string dyed with turmeric paste. He would hang this around the neck of his bride like a necklace, because it symbolized that the marriage had taken place and that the wife was now able to manage a household. It was considered the same way we treat a wedding ring today. And today, some people still wear turmeric amulets to protect against evil spirits. So it's a very powerful spice with very powerful rituals and meanings behind it. So the Austronesian people, they have been using turmeric as traditional and folk remedy from way back 2500 BC. They recognized its medicinal properties, and we can see that they knew this by the names that I mentioned earlier. Jayanti, one that wins over diseases, showing that it was able to deal with and treat illnesses. Jarantika, killer of worms, and that's the worms that attacks the body. Mahagni, the killer of fat, how to reduce levels of fat, and Vishagni, the killer of poisons. So already they knew of the medicinal properties of turmeric, and the list of traditional remedies is endless. It's as if it's a miracle cure. So just some of the traditional remedies from way back 2,000 odd years ago to even traditional today are things like treating arthritis, conjunctivitis, relief if you've had poisonous foods, skin cancer, smallpox, chicken pox, the healing of wounds, used for urinary tract infection, liver ailments, digestive disorders, jaundice, menstrual difficulties, colic, abdominal pain, loss of appetite. It's considered an anti-inflammatory, antibacterial. It's used for hair removal, a skin lightener, irritable bowel syndrome, blood circulation, colds and flus, which often makes me wonder, should it be something we're taking during this time of COVID? So turmeric oil is good for skin conditions, including acne, anti-aging, dandruff, cracked heels, for those of us who have that, and even for skin tone. And I'm just going to show us a video of how we can make our own turmeric oil. And for that, we need 3 to 5 pieces of turmeric. We need oil, whichever oil we prefer, olive oil, coconut oil, almond oil, and whatever oil you like to use on your skin. We need a small pot, a wooden spoon, a strainer, and a bottle to put our oil in. So let's have a look at this.
These are the things you need. I have some fresh turmeric. You need coconut oil. I'm using coconut oil and olive oil. You can use any oil of your choice, and that container that I'm going to pour it in when I'm done. So I'm just going to start by peeling off the back of the turmeric. Then I'm going to grate it. So I'm going to place my pot on low to medium heat. I'm going to add the olive oil and coconut oil. You can use any oil you like. You can use almond oil, whatever oil, jojoba oil, any oil you like. I'm just using coconut, and you can use even one oil. So I'm just going to add the grated turmeric in there on low heat. I'm just going to stir this occasionally. So it's going to turn from this into this. I'll just keep stirring on low heat, remember. Then into this, I'm just going to allow that cool off. Then I'm going to strain out the grated turmeric. It took about 15 minutes. So I'm just going to strain it, and I'm going to transfer it into my container. So you can use this oil on your hair when you have dandruff. After you're done washing your hair and moisturizing, you just section your hair and use this on your.
So look, brothers and sisters, how quick and easy that was to make your own turmeric oil from scratch. No additives, no preservatives, good for acne, anti-aging, dandruff, cracked heels, and skin tone. So just a couple of tips there. Please remember, and Chef Kevin mentioned it, turmeric does stain. It's a stain that you can't remove. So you might want to wear gloves to protect your hand, because it does stain the skin temporarily. So the more you practice with a turmeric oil, the more you'll get the right consistency, so it doesn't make your skin color change. But if you make it too strong the first time round, don't throw it out. Just add more of your olive oil or your coconut oil till you get the coloring quite right, because the coloring, it can be very strong if you use too much turmeric. And turmeric is very safe, so you don't need to worry about how much of it you use in this case. You can grate the turmeric for this with the bark on, or the skin on, or the skin off, and it's simmered at a low temperature for about 20 minutes, and then as the lady said, you strain it, and then you can use this oil for those of you who like to make your own creams or soaps, or add your own favorite essential oil to give it the scent that you want, because the cooking part actually reduces some of the strong natural smell of turmeric itself. So there we have seen how the Austronesian people traveled and took turmeric across the world, and now we know how to make our own turmeric oil. In the next section, we will look at the medicinal properties that modern medicine have identified for turmeric oil, and the fight that India had to maintain ownership of that. And then we'll look at making our own turmeric powder, so we don't even need to buy that anymore. But until then, Chef Kev, back to you. Can't hear you, Chef.
Can you hear me?
We can now.
Okay, so I'm going to finish off now. We're going to do our roasted veg. I've got my roasted veg out of the oven. Let me show you. Dun, dun, dun.
So while you're taking that out, Chef, just a few things. Sister Monica says that turmeric is used a lot in Ethiopian cuisine, especially in a misir wat or red lentil stew. Bernice says it's amazing. It's all you can use in your hair. Absolutely, I might try it myself. And Sister Monica reminds us that it's also a blood thinner. And we will look at ingesting, how we ingest turmeric safely in the next session. Thanks, Chef.
No problem. Right, so I've got my roasted veg. The peppers are nice and soft. You've got the crispy potatoes. You've got the squash, which is going to have a little crunch on the outside, but then soft on the inside. So you've got all these different textures. You've got a nice color. You've got the fresh thyme leaves. But when I plate up, which you will be doing afterwards, you'll see what I'm on about. So now,
Chef, will it change the texture if we covered it with a baker foil to keep it warm, or will you look at heating up later? How do we protect it?
But what you can do, you can cover it to keep it warm, but you can, if it's still too hot, it will start steaming.
Yeah.
So I take the lid off it for now, and then if you do need to warm it back up, flash it in the oven, and then it'll just go nice and warm and it'll stay crispy.
Thank you.
No problem. Right, so look, we're on the final leg. We're on the final leg now. So, ackee and spinach. So I'm doing a little twist on ackee and saltfish. This is a vegan style one. So we've got a vegan puff pastry. We've got tomatoes. We've got spring onion or scallion as we call it in Jamaica. We've got green peppers. We've got garlic, and we've got some more tomatoes.
Can you say that again, Chef? Say that just again a little bit more slowly so we can just write it down. What have we got?
Sorry. Okay, so we've got spring onion or scallion, as we call it. We've got tomatoes, normal size tomatoes. We've got green peppers.
Green pepper.
And we've got 3 more cloves of garlic.
Yep.
And then I've got some more chili. Because remember, this is like a main course. So the salmon is one main course. This would be like another main course. So I'm putting chili in again. If I was doing them together, I wouldn't necessarily put chili in 2 dishes. But sometimes you can, it still works. And
yes, before you move on, can I just ask a question? Somebody's asked what's happened to the sliced plantains, please. So somebody may have forgotten to put the plantain in with the roasted vegetables. Can we just quickly roast it separately?
So yeah, you can roast it separately. So what I've done is I took the plantain out of the skin, diced it into large chunks, and then mixed it with the rest of the veg, and then mixed it in. So if you haven't done it now, so peel it, dice it, a little bit of seasoning, olive oil, put it in the oven on its own, and then you can combine it with the other veg.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Okay, so I've got the tomatoes cut up nice and small. So I'm cutting my tomatoes nice and small.
How many tomatoes, Chef?
About 3 big ones.
Right, we've got a cry for help. Sorry, Chef. Somebody said their puff pastry didn't puff. Does it matter this time round, or if we got we put it in?
What I'm going to do is I'll show you what we're doing with the puff pastry. But puff pastry only takes about 10 minutes. So if you've got another piece, make sure the oven's nice and warm. What might have happened, you might have opened the oven door, and so what happens is it sinks. So when you're doing, like when you're baking, or when you're baking, or you work with puff pastry, it's ideal if you don't, don't open the oven door for the first 10 minutes or at least, because then if you do open the door, that's where the pastry will sink. So you can do another piece. If the roasted veg is out of the oven and you haven't got nothing else to go in the oven, just cut another piece, it'll be ready in 10 minutes. Doesn't take long at all.
But we can use it anyway. Even if it's gone flat today, we can still use it, yes?
We can still use it, not a problem.
Lovely, fantastic.
This is brilliant, Kevin. Absolutely brilliant, bro.
My G, thank you, bro. Respect to the max. Right, so now,
you've changed pans, Chef. You've changed pans. What's going on? So you had something in one pan, you've changed to another pan. What do we need to get?
We're going to use my wok, but then sometimes on the induction pan, you have to have a certain type of pan. So I'm going to use the pan I've done the okra in, because that pan will work on the induction.
Before you move one thing from one pan to another, have we missed something?
No. It's just the induction. Because I wanted to use a wok for the ackee, but because of the type of cooker this is, it's a high-tech one. So only certain pans will work on the cooker. So I'm using this other pan already. If I was doing this properly, I wouldn't use it again, but because it's just for me, I'm going to use the same pan again.
So, Chef, would you mind, as you're going through, for those of us who can use the wok, as you're explaining to us, can you explain to us how we would use the wok, so we can use the wok as well?
Yeah, you can do the same process. All you do, get the pan nice and hot.
Okay.
Get the pan nice and hot.
Oh, somebody wants to know if they can use a Dutch pot, Kevin.
Yeah, of course you can use a Dutch pot. Dutch pot always works. Dutch pot works every time, no problem.
So what's in your pan at the moment? Is there oil? Is it just what's left over from the cooking before?
So it's because it's not going to be, I haven't got no big flavors in there. I can use that same pan and it's going to be fine. So I'm going to go with a little bit of olive oil, get the pan nice and hot. So when you're doing olive oil, get the pan hot first, then put the olive oil in the pan. It works better when it cooks better if you warm up the pan first, then put the oil in.
Why is that?
It just helps the cooking process more even. So the pan's hot already, then you put the oil. It makes the oil doesn't burn and the ingredients won't burn, and it cooks more better. So you always
do that with any oil whenever you're frying any oil.
I always warm up the pan first. Always warm up the pan first, and then add the oil. So I've got my pan on a nice high fire. So I've got spring onions, and then and what I'm going to do is I'm going to fry off the spring onions first.
Chef, while you're cutting that up, somebody says, can someone please tell me, that's Sister Faye, why the food always tastes better in a Dutch pot? Is there a reason for that? Is it in our mind? Does it bring back good memories? Why is that?
I think it's more of a psychological thing, the way we grew up and the food, what represents coming from a Dutch pot. A Dutch pot works. It works and it does things, but it does cook evenly. It's one of those pots which does universal cooking. And it's like in Africa, they have a dish called beneche in Gambia, and it's like a one pot dish which is rice and vegetables. They put everything in it, and it's one of those one pot dishes like a Dutch pot. And again, Dutch pot and one pot dishes always seem to work. Right, I'm going to go with my spring onions in first.
That was 2 spring onions, 2 scallions cut up there, yeah?
Yeah, and then I'm going to go with my garlic.
That's how many garlics was that? Another 3 cloves?
Another 3 cloves of garlic.
Yeah. Very sharp cutting there, Chef Kev. I don't think we should try that one at home unless we're experienced. So that's the onions and the garlic.
Garlic, I've got to get my peppers in there.
How much pepper was that, sir? The green
Just
pepper.
one green pepper. I've sliced it.
Cut it.
Just sliced.
Slice, okay.
Just sliced. And I'm going to go with 2 chilies.
Okay, and we can do the same again. Leave the seeds in if we want it hot, or will it spoil the other dish?
Same again, same again.
Okay, 2 chilies.
So I've got spring onion, green peppers, chilies, garlic in my pan. I've got the tomatoes cut up already.
Kev, just to double check, with that green pepper, we took off the white bits that you said was bitter and we took out the seeds, yes?
That's the one, yes, please.
Could we have cooked it with it in if we like kind of bitter taste? Would it been okay? Or do you think it would impair it too much?
No, you can, obviously you can use it and it doesn't, but it does add to the whole eating experience. You don't want a little bitterness in it. If time factor, you can, but I tend to kind of, you stick to what you know is going to improve the flavour and help your cooking.
Okay.
So I've got my spring onion. I just added some more spring onion. Onion always works well in foods. If you can't get spring onion, you can use leeks, which works just as well, and it just adds to the flavour. So I've got my garlic.
Did you use, the scallion, did you use the green bit as well? Because it looked very, very white, like it was just the white part of it, like you'd stripped off the green or just used the white end of it.
I had another one. If with spring onion, the part where it feels soft, that part you don't want to use. It doesn't really help. That's more for stocks and soups. The firm part is what you want to use for the where you get more of the flavour from.
Right, and you've got 3 in there now, haven't you?
Yeah, I've got 3 in there now.
Okay.
So right now, so peppers, onions, garlic, chili, tomatoes is going in.
How
I've
many
only cut one up
tomatoes
so
is
far. I've cut 3 tomatoes.
So we were using tomatoes before, Chef, and we were using the small salad tomatoes, but you're using regular big tomatoes now. Does that equate to 1 beef tomato?
Yeah, this will be about equivalent to 1 big beef tomato. And with these tomatoes, I want more juicy from this one, whereas the other one, I didn't want it too juicy, but I wanted kind of the taste and the little sharpness and the sweetness to combine with the okra. This time, I want the more juicy tomato, where I'm going to get more juice, which adds to the dish which we're doing. So I'm just cutting the tomatoes.
You've kind of cut them into quarters, and then each quarter you've sliced, but not too thin.
Yeah, that's small pieces.
So, Ken, I'm thinking about tomatoes. When you buy tomatoes in the supermarket, they are really tasteless these days. What would you say about getting tomatoes with taste and flavour?
A lot of the foods nowadays, you don't really get the flavour you used to. I've noticed a big difference. You have to use so much more to get the authentic flavour when you're cooking. And I think, I do believe a lot of the food nowadays is genetically modified, and they're not telling us, because the flavour is just not there, which used to be there. Yeah. So this is whereby allotments, organic food, even though it's more money, it is worth it in the long run, because you get the extra flavour which is needed for your cooking. So I've got all this now. I'm going to put a little bit of salt and pepper, garlic powder, even though I've got...
That's a lot of garlic powder. What would you have said that was 1, 2, or 3 teaspoons there? For those of us who like to measure.
About 1 teaspoon there.
About 1 teaspoon, okay. Oh, Sister Faye says use farmers markets if you want to get homegrown.
Yeah, that is another one. So I'm putting in some pepper.
Oh, Brother Dean says, brilliant, Kev. He's also saying, well done to everyone so far. Thanks for the votes of confidence for everybody, Dean. We're all coming up, and there's no worries in the chat at the moment, so fantastic.
And I must say, Dean.
And big up man like Elijah, who's doing the filming.
Yes, he's away from the cameraman.
And Elijah done I'm on a project called Take 3 Chefs, and where we've got 3 chefs cooking, and we're doing an online series. And Elijah done the promo video for us, and it is fantastic. It looks good. It's so, I don't know how to say it more. So big up Elijah. Also, look out for Take 3 Chefs. I will be doing more work, and it's a good concept, and it's where we're trying to get people to cook more in homes, but Caribbean flavors, but with a twist. And we've got 3 chefs, 3 different perspectives. Right, so in my pan...
So, Chef, before you do any more, is it important the order you put those ingredients into the pan? And then somebody wanted to know, did you use regular black pepper or cracked black pepper, and is there a difference?
Right, the cracked black pepper, it's got more of a bite to it, and I've used cracked black pepper because I wanted more of a crunch to this dish. The normal pepper, it's still got the flavour, but the cracked black pepper adds to the flavour experience. And I did do it in an order where I've done all the dry things, like the spring onion, the peppers, the garlic, and the chilies first, to get that kind of frying off and release more of the flavours. And then I've added the tomatoes. The reason why I added tomatoes afterwards, I didn't want to go soggy from the start. I didn't want no juices straight away. The juices I wanted more afterwards. I'm going to put a little bit of smoked paprika.
So after the tomatoes, Kev, what went in? Was that when you added the cracked black pepper then?
Yeah, that was the cracked black pepper.
Brilliant.
And then
you added smoked paprika.
A good amount. And just keep stirring.
What's the temperature on that pan, sir?
Quite high, it's quite high. I've got it on 3/4 to the top.
Okay.
And all I want is to kind of make sure all this is nearly cooked, because when the ackee goes in, I don't want to stir the ackee. I want to have the ackee where you don't have a ackee mush. You kind of turn the ackee into the mix so it stays together. So
So Dean Clark had to log out. Something must have happened with the internet. Just to say, Dean, where we are now, Chef Kev's just been doing the vegetables. In that frying pan there, you can see one red pepper chopped up, frying. I've got three scallion onions, the white part of the scallion onions chopped up and frying. 3 cloves of garlic is in there. Remind me, Chef Kev, what else did you put in before the tomato? 2 chilies are in there, seeded, if you like it very hot, chopped and seeded. And last of all, 1 big beef tomato or 3 medium tomatoes are frying in there with cracked black pepper on a high heat. Did I get it right?
You got it spot on, sis. I love that. Go on. All right, loving that. Okay, big up, Sister Adele. Okay, spinach. I'm going to put some spinach in now. So what I've done is I've got this cooked, and it's kind of nice, and it's nice and just softened. The spinach goes in, and it looks like a spinach. Right, you see the amount of baby, I'm using baby spinach. Now, you see the amount of spinach I've got there? That looks like a whole heap of spinach. That spinach will give me about a teaspoon of spinach by the time it shrinks. With spinach, it shrinks and you lose a lot. But with spinach, you know what goes nice with spinach? Nutmeg. So I'm putting a little nutmeg when I put the spinach in.
What's a little nutmeg, sir?
About half a teaspoon. It's like...
Strong flavour.
Just a little flavour. Just a little flavour. Not overpowering. And then the heat from the tomato relish would soften up the spinach, and the spinach will shrink down, but it just adds to the colour contrast of what we're doing.
Is the fire still hot or still high?
Still high fire.
And is that what, about 1 salad bag of baby leaf spinach?
Half a bag.
Okay. Could you use the regular, very dark spinach, full-grown spinach?
You could still use that one as well, not a problem. Still works.
Okay.
And the spinach, I just want it to kind of soak in with the thing. And you've got the red and the green is a nice colour contrast.
Somebody's asked, Chef, what's the difference between paprika and cayenne?
The cayenne is a pepper, it's like got more of a kick, whereas the paprika is dried red pepper without the heat, not so much heat. And the cayenne is better for you, in truth, in terms of when you're using pepper. It's really got some nice benefits in terms of it's good for the body. It's supposed to help build up the immune system. It's one of those pepper dishes really nice. Look at the amount of spinach I had, and look how that's gone down to. So now, get the fire nice and hot. Make sure it's nice and hot.
Now, there's a lot of liquid in there, I'm guessing, Kev, because spinach always seems to produce a lot of liquid.
It does indeed. But then that's whereby you want the juices to kind of combine with the onions and everything, so you're not got nothing too dry. Right, so now, when I add the ackee, I don't want to, I'm going to go with the ackee now.
So while the ackee you've just thrown in after draining it, I can see that, but somebody's mentioned there, Sister Faye was saying her mum used to boil the ackee before cooking. Is that wrong? Do we need to do it? What benefit does that have?
That's if you've got the fresh ackee. This ackee, you don't need to do that.
Okay.
Now, I'm using a metal spoon. I've turned off the heat.
Spoon and not a wooden?
I'm using a metal spoon because the wooden spoon, it kind of will break it up. I want a spoon where I can just turn it in.
Okay.
I can just turn it in. And because I've added the ackee, again, a little bit more pepper. So the ackee has got some seasoning, a little bit of salt.
Are you trying not to break up the ackee?
Yes, I don't want the ackee to be mashy, so that's why I'm using a metal spoon and then just turn it.
Wow. So if we were to get real ackee, then we'd have to boil it first, take it out the pods and boil it first?
Yeah, you boil it first and then you do the same process. Once it's boiled, then you just operate it the same way.
Okay.
The fresh ackee is mad. The flavour on that is yeah.
Still on a high heat.
Still on a high heat. And all I'm doing is just turning the ackee into the mix, and then I'm going to leave it for 2 minutes, and I'm going to start ready to plate up. So now for the salmon, all I do, presentation is key. When you're doing food, what you're looking at is making sure you've got some height on your plate. So what we do, I've got my salmon. I'm going to get a nice sized piece of salmon. And the salmon goes in the middle of the plate.
Inside down.
Inside down. You can go the skin side up, but I'm just going, because I'm going to pour the relish over it, it will get lost in that. So now, the okra cherry tomato mixture just goes poured over.
So you're pouring that over, you're spooning it over the salmon.
Yeah. And I want the onions on the top, and I want to get the green. You want to see the colors. You want to be able to see the green. And it's just a nice little...
Vanessa, yes, we're serving now, sis. We're serving now. So everybody come to the table. Elijah, I think as the cameraman, you should be tasting today. Give it
official. Elijah's the man. Elijah. So I've got my salmon in the middle. And remember, because I haven't got nothing else with it, I'm just going to go with some of the roasted veg now. And all I'm going to do, the roasted veg.
Okay.
And again, you want to make sure you can see the plant. Make sure you've got some of everything, the red and everything's there. I'm putting the roasted veg on both sides.
Wow.
The roasted veg goes on both sides. Make sure you got some of the pepper there, some of the plantain. You see the plantain, you've got a nice little golden crust. And then just make sure you've got a couple of leaves of the fresh thyme. Just
so
going over.
While you're doing that, which of our traditional drinks, for those of us who are not alcoholic, so it won't be wine, which of our traditional drinks would go well with this meal? Sorrel or...
Sorrel. It's got to be a sorrel. It's got to be a sorrel. So this is the first one. We're good to go. Now, plating number 2. I've got my puff pastry. So my puff pastry, I'm going to use the other one. This one, as you can see, it's got a nice little golden crust. What I'm going to do, I'm going to open it.
Okay.
So it's like a parcel. So look, puff pastry, and it's all light and airy in the middle. So now that goes on the side like that. But I'm going to take the lid to one side, and now the ackee.
Red Vanessa's already eating.
Ackee goes inside.
I don't understand, Red Vanessa, how you could already be eating. Did you not plate up in this stylish way with the colours and the height?
That's enough for a portion. That goes over the top. But what I'm going to do, I don't want it to kind of be a normal parcel. I want the puff pastry at an angle, just like that. And then, again, roasted veg to one side.
Okay, Red Vanessa, you're plating up now. I get you.
Again, roasted veg. And again, more height. Make sure you get some of the fresh thyme. Let's add to the plate. And make sure you got some of the red pepper. Bit of fresh thyme. And make sure the plate is clean. Wipe the edge. And there we have
wow,
salmon creole with roasted veg, and we have ackee and spinach parcel with roasted veg. We're good to go.
Beautiful, chef.
Oh my God, that was hard. Thank you. Thank you.
Well done, chef. We've all catched up with you. There's lots of ones coming through now. I don't know if that's ones for you or ones because you did it so well that everybody's food is tasting so good. But it's loads of hand claps. Up to Chef Kev. Coming through some love hearts. Chef is coming through. Lick shot is coming through.
Fantastic.
Somebody's saying my face is like a beetroot. Well done, Sister Louise. You kept up. Fantastic. Wonderful. So is cameraman going to have a try? And let's see if we can get some ones from the cameraman.
The cameraman is going to have a Mohammed bite to take away, or does he want to eat it now? He's going to take it away. You're taking it away. You'll have a little taste of it, but you're taking it away. So we're all good, all good. And in truth, with the cooking, if you've got a lot of these things done already, it just makes it so much easier. And it doesn't have to be difficult. You can use different combination, and you don't have to have the rice and peas all the time. You can have it. I love rice and peas. I love my jollof. But if you have that all the time, it's too much starch going through your body. And we need to kind of have more of a balanced diet. We need to kind of get more vegetables in our diet. We need to get more fruit in our diet so our body can work the way it's supposed to work and get rid of any waste or any poisons in the body. If you eat right, your body will get rid of it and it's naturally balanced out. But if you're eating food which is just wrong all the time, or you're eating just all carbs, your body's going to get blocked up, and then that's where we get a lot of the illnesses. And more so than at this time, we need to be thinking about our health, especially when they're pushing us to kind of go in a certain direction. So if you've got a strong immune system, your body will deal with anything what comes. So I've loved today. I'm hoping, you know, you've enjoyed it. We will be doing, because I know we've got enough people who like their meat and chicken, everything like that. We will be doing chicken as well. But I'm not going to just do the traditional jerk chicken. Oh, jerk chicken. Jerk chicken's played out. Let's do something different.
Jeff, if I just finish off the last section on turmeric, and then I'll come back and ask you a few questions. That gives people the opportunity to try the dishes. If you want to right now, get your questions ready. And then once I come back, Chef, you can answer those questions, give us any tips for us who are going to take it away, and then we can talk about what's going to come up next.
Lady Adele? Lady Adele?
Yes, Brother Andrew?
Just